Crack a beer. It's open bar, and I have a story to tell.
Strong and wild, we rise up high. Conquer fears, won't let them reside. Heartbeats pound as we take the dive. Living now feels so alive. Heart steel veins glowing bright. Fitness gone in the dead of night. Fading game, we got the sight. Crushing finance, career out of sight. Man up now, we own it true. Breaking chains, just me and you. Success stories everywhere. Living life beyond compare.
Do you guys like my 90s sitcom opener?
Yeah. Did you get AI to do that one?
No, actually, I sang and orchestrated the whole thing myself.
Of course you did.
Produced. I love it.
Oh, I love that stuff. Paul, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
So,
So this is a good topic today. It's one of my favorite topics.
oh, I cannot wait to get into it. But before we even get started, for those who don't know, Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Paul Bauer. I'm the host of the Commandments podcast. I'm a Rule Zero panelist. I'm a certified master life coach. And yeah, I've been on this journey for several years now of helping men level up, get better with women, which the funny thing is when guys go on that journey, it tends to level them up in all areas of their life. So a lot of my podcast isn't just about women, although most of it is. That's usually why people tune in to get the girls and stuff. But I also talk about other stuff too. But yeah, I mean, that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Yeah. And we do the Dragon Ship together, and you have a lot of great content. And you stream what? Is it Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or is it every day?
It's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, YouTube channel down below, if you want to follow him, you're going to want to after we have this discussion. He's got a ton of wisdom. And Josh, how are you doing?
I'm spectacular, my friend. Just excited to be, having a very good conversation, but also around what I would kind of consider not only just like a seminal work in the space, but like the kind of source code of the modern space. So it's just really fun to dive like into this. And I remember when this article on this subject we're going to talk about first dropped, just the firestorm it kind of like set off and the ripples that it's had. So, for those of you guys that are paying watching this episode, pay attention, because literally everything you know about the space today, like 95% of it all translates directly out of this document here.
Yeah. Oh, it is crazy. And to go ahead and preface the whole thing, we're going to be talking about the 16 Commandments of Poon, written by Chateau Heartiste, also known as Roissey. And for those who do not know, this came out way back in the day. This was, I believe it was even pre Rollo's work. Am I right on that, Josh?
Yeah, you'd be right on that. I mean, Rollo was still like around like in the Return of Kings forums and whatnot, but this like predates before the Rational Male blog itself was like set up, and that's what gave him his footing.
I not to be a jerk here, I'm looking at a version of it, I guess, from Heartiste.org, which was Roissey's blog. And it's dated in 2019, though. Did he write this before that? And was it published on his old site? Because he used to go by Roissey in DC before he was Chateau Heartiste.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, because he wanted to remain anonymous, and then eventually he ended up selling the rights to his website, to his work. And so that's a repost.
Oh, okay. So that does make sense. So when did he originally write the 16 Commandments of Poon? Do you know?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. This is way back.
Yeah, I could check in my notes, but I do recall that it's probably somewhere around the like 2015 era, somewhere around there. Might be a
Okay.
little bit older than that, but yeah, it's but in internet modern standards, it's quite ancient.
Isn't that funny? Like
So bizarre.
it's almost it's like 9 years ago. It's like that's so forever. It's like way back in the day, 9 years ago.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah. So, which I'm sure someone out there can look at some historian out there can look it up and find the exact date that it was first posted and let us know in the comments. But yeah, if memory serves correct, it was somewhere around the 2015 era, possibly might have been 2014 or earlier, but
Okay.
it was around then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it came out like right before The Rational Male was released, or not like right before, but a year or two before. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. That doesn't work. I don't want to do it that way. Yeah, I'm new at this, guys. I'm doing my best.
Get your shish together.
So, all right. So, context for everybody. So, the 16 Commandments of Poon, written by Roissey, is essentially similar to, and we got Kevin. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? Having a little technical difficulties there, but we got to figure it out. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, doing good. We're about to dive into it, so you coming in at the perfect time. So, with the 16 Commandments of Poon, it's very similar to like the 9 Iron Rules of Tomasi. And it really covers everything. And what you'll find interesting is, as Josh was saying, it really is the source code of current modern day Red Pill, like the beliefs that everybody else pushes. And so I want to go through these, and we'll hit as much as we can before we have to jump. We have the Dragons meeting and the Men of Now community meetup. We have to do that at close to 7. So we got around 45 minutes or so to dive into this. So, the very first one, never say I love you first. Women want to feel like they have to overcome obstacles to win a man's heart. They crave the challenge of capturing the interest of a man who has other women competing for his attention and eventually prevailing over his grudging reluctance to award his committed exclusivity. The man who gives his emotional world away too easily robs women of the satisfaction of earning his love. Though you may be in love with her, don't say it before she has said it. Show compassionate restraint for her need to struggle toward your fulfillment, or yin fulfillment. Oh my God. I didn't even read this one all the way through. They're talking about the yin and yang again, which is my absolute fantastic way of describing the perfect male feminine energies. I like that. Inspire her to take the leap for you, and she'll return the favor 1,000-fold. Now, on that, let's start with you, Paul, because I know you're big into the energy stuff too, and I think the yin and yang is very interesting. So, never say I love you first. What are your opinions on that?
I agree with that 100%. I also agree. You could see this also in Corey Wayne's work when he talks about not bringing up being exclusive or exclusivity with women. And a lot of guys run into this problem. A lot of guys are pushing for a relationship when they're dating. They're out there. They're trying to lock down every girl they see. And women just get the ick by that. And it's because you're going against women's natural instincts to try to lock you down, you know? And so when I learned that, it blew my mind, because I was always that guy. I was always that needy guy that was always pushing for a relationship. And then I was always that guy that was like, I love you, and oh my God, and hearts on my sleeve and stuff like that. And I was pushing chicks away. And I was like, what am I doing wrong here? It's because this kind of stuff is just unnatural. Like, women think they want this stuff and they say they want this stuff, but that's not what they respond to. They respond to this. So you got to let it be their idea. That's really what it comes down to.
But hold on. I thought us as men were supposed to be the hunters. Aren't we supposed to chase the women?
I think so. The way I like to look at that is guys need to get the ball rolling, because women are the passive, the passive energies. There you go. You like the energy stuff. They're very passive. However, they do like the challenge of locking down a guy that just they can't seem to get their way with. So a smart guy will initiate the interaction, pique her interest, and then get her to start chasing him. And that's really what it comes down to, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the game.
Josh, you have any thoughts on this? I know you've probably seen, because you work with a lot of models, so I'm sure you've seen like the cattiness, and actually, I think women are more competitive than men, especially within each other. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like right off the bat, I knew this thing was onto something because this very first rule drastically changed my like life as well as my just interactions dramatically. And it really comes down to the third sentence, which is, the man who gives his emotional world away too easily robs women of the satisfaction of earning his love. That really is like the key takeaway statement that drastically transformed the nature of my relationships, from going to that guy that was super frustrated, and again, a lot of guys can sympathize with it, where you're going out and you're dating a girl and you just want to lock her down right away because, oh my gosh, she's so awesome, and you just spill your guts and hearts on the sleeve and just put everything out there on the table, and then you realize that, oh, I'm actually doing them a disservice, because the natural balance of the equation is that, hey, I'm focusing on my mission and my purpose, and yeah, we have these feelings of a good relationship together, but there is a certain thing where while you as the man, right, are competing for women and resources and various other things, women also have a competition that they're going through, and they're competing for you and competing for your attention, your time, your affection, as well as your commitment. So understanding that, oh, the problem most nice guys have is that they deprive women of this, and they rob them of that satisfaction of, oh yeah, there was this guy that is very focused and determined and is moving in the right direction, and the man who conquers all the rest of the world, she in a lot of senses can conquer him, right, in that sense, where it's like, oh, okay, like I've gotten his attention, I've got his heart, right? And so understanding that just really flipped the script for me and really opened up my eyes and perspective to things. So once I kept that in the back of my head, suddenly my relationships saw a dramatic and drastic improvement. And it's kind of funny how, being out in, the dating coaching space and working with a lot of people, kind of have to remind people back to this key point here, which is just like, hey, look, girls are just as fiercely competitive and are looking very much for a certain satisfaction. And as a guy, we have to be cognizant of and sensitive enough to understand, what for them is a very good reward for them that helps them not only feel like they've earned something, but they've also, gone through the fires a little bit with you through that relationship, versus just, oh my gosh, here's everything just out here playing on the table. That's not what women are looking for. Because again, any guy that just gives it all away, it's not a value.
Yeah, I like that. I've kind of been thinking about this based on what you guys have both said so far. It's kind of like the guy is the positive, the forceful energy, but it's like stripping a screw. Like if you're being too forceful, you strip the screw and then you can't get it in. And we were supposed to put the screw in and get it started, but it needs to go at an even pace. And that's what this is really talking about. And Paul, I saw you in the comments there. It really is for new relationships. That's true. This is what needs to be followed for new relationships. Kevin, do you have anything to add before we jump to the next one?
Well, I think Paul said it really well. If you say it too fast, it displays neediness, which will turn a lot of women off very fast. It's like I said in the space, women control access to sex. We control access to the relationship. And by not expressing feelings too fast, too soon, you maintain a sense of mystery and emotional control by not revealing your feelings too soon, which to most women will make you more desirable. I mean, that's really what I get from that, what coupled with all you guys said.
Absolutely. Fantastic. All right. So let's dive into number 2. So make her jealous. So flirt with other women in front of her. Do not dissuade other women from flirting with you. Women will never admit this, but jealousy excites them. The thought of you turning on another woman will arouse her sexually. No girl wants a man that no other woman wants. The partner who harnesses the gale storm of jealousy controls the direction of the relationship. Now, what I want to ask you guys, and I'm going to start with you, Kevin, what do you think about that?
Well, no, I completely agree with it, especially in the beginning. You know, women like to know that their man is desired by other women. And it's one of those evolutionary things that if they know they got someone that to compete with, that makes them want to compete that much more. Now, when it comes out to flirting openly in public, you got to do that tactfully, or you can turn them off, especially in the beginning. But if they see that other girls are receptive to you, it will trigger that competitiveness in their brain. That's why so many married men get hit on. You know, women do like a man that wears a wedding ring, and he has a lot better chance of being approached by women than somebody that isn't already taken. And it's goes back to a primal evolutionary thing that if you're taken or you're wanted by other women, there's got to be something about you that they want.
I like that. Yeah, no, it's a good point. Josh, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a post that a guy wrote years ago where he said that, I asked the girl I was going out with, she asked if I was talking to any other girls, and I said, no, baby, I'm talking to no other girls. You're the only girl I'm talking to. And her response was, damn, so you're telling me I'm applying for a job no one wants? And so really, yeah, that's kind of the way to sort of think about it, is that, again, women do tend to want what other women want. But, this rule is extremely, extremely helpful in moderation, right? Because there's a respectful way to do it, right? There's just nothing wrong with a little playful flirting, being charming, right? And again, that a lot of girls, they won't necessarily like consciously admit it, but subconsciously it very much does, drive them a bit wild and turns them on when, they know that their guy can elicit that type of response or passion from other women. Because the thing is that women love winning more than anything else. So if you're that guy that's flirting with all these other girls and this, that, or the other, but you have it, but she has your heart, you're the one that, she's the one that you're taking home, right? She beat out everybody else. That is like right there, just not only a great like ego stroke, but it's just, it satisfies that natural competitiveness that they have. So again, you don't want to deprive them of that. But again, you leverage this rule, I would say, in a little bit of balance, because you can be a little bit of an asshole and like go overboard with it, right? And you're not saying like, make out with other girls in front of your girl or whatever, but, again, leverage it within balance, right? There's the way to do it where it works really well in your favor. And then there's a way where you're just being disrespectful with it. And then now you're burning the bridge with, the girl that you really should be turning on.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like when a lot of guys read this rule, make her jealous, don't do it to piss her. Like you're just pissing her off sometimes. Like don't forcefully do it. Do it naturally. I think that's what gets lost in that. Paul, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that really just comes down to mate choice copying, right? Women like other guys that other women like, right? It's been proven. It's been scientifically proven that women like guys that other women like. That's why when you're out dating, even if you don't have any other options, if a chick says, hey, are you seeing anyone right now? The worst thing you could say is, no, I'm not seeing anybody. It's you got to say, well, I always got room for one more or something, right? Because they have to think that there's some kind of competition out there. And what he's really talking about is a form of dread game, and dread sort of gets women in their into their competition anxiety, right? If they don't think that they have any competition anymore, that's when things start to dwindle in the relationship. But some of this, when you're actively flirting with other women in front of her, that's more active dread. It's kind of toxic behavior if you think about it. And it's not really necessary. But if you are that kind of guy that goes to the gym, you dress well, you talk to everybody, you're just a social guy, and people naturally are drawn to you, and then other women flirt with you, that's actually more attractive to her than you flirting with other women, So that being more passive with it is a good tool in your arsenal, and you shouldn't necessarily dissuade that, right? It's not your fault that you're this charming guy that all these chicks can't, say no to. And she'll like that more. But if you're out, being that guy that's overly flirty, and all these other chicks are rolling their eyes at you and stuff like that, and they're not having it, that's not attractive behavior.
Right.
So but that's really what we're talking about is dread game. And there's a good way there's an effective way of doing it, and there's a less effective way of doing it.
Oh,
can I add one
100%.
last thing to that?
100% agree with you. Go ahead, Kevin.
But yeah, it's like we say flirting, but you can overdo that, especially if you're on a date with a first date, But I think by just subtly implying that other women are interested in you, like if you're telling a story, well, I was at the gym a couple weeks ago and this woman walked up to me and asked me about this, though that's subtly implying that other women are interested in, rather than just overly flirting with the waitress if she's good looking, or she sees you talking to every girl as you're going to the bathroom on a date. So just subtly implying that other women are in your life or interested in you is a better way to make her jealous than just openly flirting with other girls in front of her.
Yeah, it's interesting. What popped into my head is I know, Paul, that you spoke with ARC as well before his passing. God rest his soul. That man was a legend. And with Mode 1, and I can't wait until we get into that. That's going to be down the road with these shows, gentlemen. But ARC with direct game. From the start, direct is the best way. But then in a relationship, indirect is your most powerful tool. And that's what we're talking about here. Indirect dread. Even just that story, like as you're saying, Kevin, like, oh, this girl or this girl at work, like something like that, to get that imagination running. One of the things that I tell my guys when we're behind the scenes, and I'll say it here, I may have said it before publicly, but I'll say it publicly now. A woman's G-spot is not in her private zone. It's up here. It's the imagination, it's the mind. That is a woman's G-spot. So if you can tickle that the right way, you have a lot of success.
And the ultimate way that you can tickle that, if you ever get the question of, like, oh, are you single? Are you seeing anybody else? The ultimate answer to that will always be not exclusively.
Yeah.
And make it true,
that's a great way of answering it.
Yeah, make it true though. Like when we said subtly, a girl approached me at the gym, don't make stuff up. Don't just try to throw that out there. Make yourself the man that girls are interested in. And if you're not, then there's some things on yourself you need to work on. But don't just go out embellishing on how all these women talk to you and ask for you when they don't. You can, I don't know, exaggerate a little bit, but don't make them just falsehoods.
Well, that's what's good about saying not exclusively, or I always have room for one more, is it's not a lie. Even if you aren't seeing anyone, it's not a lie. So you're not making stuff up necessarily. Where if you're like, oh yeah, I've got all these chicks hanging off my last Saturday was really really popular night for me because I was banging like 10 chicks. That is a complete falsehood. And that probably won't work out as well. But
and what's great about the always have room for one more, or, not exclusively, is again, there's a certain area of mystique that's a way of showcasing that you are a man of abundance, but also of confidence. Because again, nothing says you're not the man more than having to tell someone that you're the man, right? Like, oh, I'm seeing like 4 girls, it's all great, blah, blah, blah. Just versus just, oh, not exclusively. So there's an implication of, well, he could be seeing one person possibly not exclusively. He could be seeing 50 people not exclusively. Not quite sure. But he doesn't have to brag about it or put it in my face or tell me about it. So now there's a certain level of mysterious intrigue that kind of, again, starts to tickle that G-spot a little bit. And then, pull them into your world a little bit more, because there's a little bit of a mystery to you now that discovers some, requires some unraveling.
Yeah, it gets that hamster wheel working.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on to the next one here. So we've got, you shall make your mission, not your woman, your priority. Forget all those romantic cliches of the leading man proclaiming his undying love for the woman who completes him. Despite whatever protestations, am I even saying that right? Protestation?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. To the contrary, women do not want to be the one or the center of a man's existence. They, in fact, want to subordinate themselves to a worthy man's life's purpose, to help him achieve that purpose with their feminine support. Again, we're talking yin and yang energy. And to follow the path he lays out. You must respect a woman's integrity and not lie to her that she is your everything. She is not your everything, and if she is, she will soon not be anymore. All right, Paul, let's start with you on this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was something I learned. I learned from Coach Corey Wayne when I was, getting into the space. Dr. Glover also talks about it. Everybody talks about this, right? You have to be a man on a mission. Big problem is a lot of guys don't know what their mission is. They sometimes think their mission is their work. They almost always exclusively go, yeah, I'm working on my purpose right now, which is their job. And their job doesn't necessarily have to be their purpose in life. It could be a means to an end. But the problem is a lot of guys do make their woman the center of attention. They do the whole Jerry Maguire thing and are looking for a girl to complete them. But that is unattractive behavior. And a lot of guys are doing that. Women want to join a man's lifestyle. And so if you're a guy on a mission and you're building an excellent life for yourself, that's attractive. Women want to join that. They want to be a part of that. They want to help you build that. They don't want to be the center of your world. And it's really hard for a lot of guys to hear because there's a lot of women out there that'll say, no, I want to be the center of a guy's world. But as soon as the guy does that to them, he ends up in the friend zone. It's one of those things where you just can't listen to what women say, Yeah,
it's like a cognitive dissonance going on there, because when women are saying like that they want a man that's making six figures or making like $10,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $100,000, like whatever it may be, they understand that there's a lot of things tied to that. And that's almost like one of those like covert shit tests that goes on when they try and like soak all that attention and to see how you're actually going to react. So it's interesting. Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is one that it's a really hard for a lot of guys to like deprogram themselves from, because, with the way that a lot of stories and media and fairy tales and whatnot, movies are, been told and perpetuated through our culture. This is kind of one of those core, like, graining beliefs in there that, again, at a very young age, you just hear over and over and over. So subconsciously, it takes a little bit of time to kind of deprogram a little bit from it. And so it's a really important message in there that is, hey, you really need to be focused on what your mission is. And to Paul's point, your mission doesn't really, shouldn't be just like your job. Like, you should have a broader, grander life mission for yourself. And so it's really up to you to figure out, hey, what is your mission and what is that purpose going to be? And again, women are very receptive to hopping on to that purpose and being able to integrate and incorporate themselves into it in a very supportive way, in a supportive fashion. And so that's another testament to just how profound this role is that it acknowledges there's, us wanting to be on our primary mission going forward, but there is that, certain element of irreplaceable support that women provide that really is that yin yang balance. And so it just is a further enhancement to what we're doing, and it makes things a lot better. So, there's especially some of the guys that just get kind of burnt out and just like, hey, I just want to forget completely about women, just focus solely on like my own sort of mission in life. Okay, great. That's nice and that's fun. But you are missing a really huge part of the human experience. And when you have that woman that can come into your life and support on that mission front, it just makes everything infinitely a lot better. But that is something that it's very, very hard to kind of deprogram that target focus of, okay, I've got someone that's very important in my life, but the second that you forsake the mission for the sake of just this one person, you lose what inherently made you attractive to begin with, and then all sorts of unravel for you.
She fell in love with a man on a mission, and then if you lose that mission, you're not the man that she fell in love with anymore.
Yep.
Love it.
Very well said.
Kevin, you got anything else to add to this one?
Like Josh said, this is where Disney and most rom-coms get it wrong. Your mission and your path, whatever you want to call it, your journey, that's what attracts women. I mean, there is something about a man that's driven and independent that most women will find attractive. And if once y'all get together and y'all start that exclusive relationship, and that stops, and you just go to work and go home because you got her there, and you're no longer driven and independent and still trying to level up, you become that cliche living in your mom's basement playing video games, and so that will turn a girl off. You have to stay focused on yourself. You still make your woman a priority, especially in a long-term relationship, a committed relationship, but not your number one priority. Yeah, she's your priority to protect, to provide for, that kind of stuff, but you still have to have your mission, and you're constantly improving yourself and leveling up, or she will grow bored and you will grow fat and ugly. I mean, that's the cold hard truth.
I like that. Let's try and hit this next one here. Don't play by her rules. Is that? Yeah, that's the next one. Sorry. If you allow a woman to make the rules, she will resent you with a seething contempt. Even I don't. This is something that I have never liked. This line here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
because he uses the rapist word. He uses
let's blow past that. But the strongest woman and the most strident feminist wants to be led by and to submit to a more powerful man. Polarity is the core of a healthy, loving relationship. She does not want the prerogative to walk all over you with the capricious demands and mercurial moods. Her emotions are a hurricane. Her soul is saboteur. Think of yourself as a bulwark against her tempest. When she grasps for a pillar to steady herself against the whipping winds, or yearns for an authority figure to foil her worst instincts, it is you who has to be there. Strong, solid, unshakable, and immovable. Now, one thing that I find very interesting about this, and I'll just tell a short story here. I actually dated a girl that was like a staunch feminist, and she had like a small poster right on the wall, right next to the bed, of Wonder Woman. And she was hardcore feminist all the way through. And I remember waking up in the bed whenever I would stay over her place, and I would always see that because from the side I was laying, I would turn to my right to look at her, and I would see that right above. And what was interesting is that in that relationship and during our discussions, she would say one thing outside of her discussions, but then when I would take a stance on certain things, oh, that's weird. All of a sudden, you're no longer liberal and you actually fit my agenda. Have you guys ever experienced that before with a woman where she kind of like molds into your belief system?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. I've had my fair share of, if you look at these girls' social medias, you would swear that they're the most hardcore, like burn the patriarchy type, individuals. But then, when they're with me, and literally one of them, she's just like, oh, I'll make you the best sandwich you ever had. And she like kind of took it as a little bit of a way to poke fun at like kind of, a lot of her beliefs, but with the relationship, the dynamic that we had. So, there is that inherent sort of dynamic nature that when things are in balance, things kind of stay in check. But this rule here is extremely, I think, important, because a lot of guys get too caught up and roped up in the like, well, okay, if she says this, and this, then, as long as I follow those rules, then I'll be okay. Which, in reality, they're being put there as a bit of a test to see like, hey, are you going to, still focus on your own pathway? Are you going to break a lot of these rules? Because, there's been a lot of girls that are like, oh yeah, I have a steadfast rule. I don't like go home with somebody on the first date. Flash forward 3 hours later, it's either we're back at her place or in the back of a car or something, right? And things are going down where, again, everyone has a great fun time, but a large part of it is the understanding what rules are, right? A lot of times rules are just made as kind of like miniature shit tests to see like, oh, can I push you around? Can I boss you around? Because the key line in there, right, is that you got to be sort of the bulkhead, right, against the tempest. So, if you can't weather her own storms, how are you going to protect her from the storms that life is going to throw your guys' way? And that's where it's extremely important to, you got to be that rock solid, just pillar that endures.
Like that. Kevin, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, just real quickly. This one, it strikes me really to the core, because this talks about of what we believe, and we talk about frame, right? And don't play by her rules. Somebody that's just getting into the space, they can take this far in the wrong direction. That doesn't mean you rule the roost, but it reminds me of, not falling into the happy wife, happy life cliche. But, basically it's just not adhering to the societal or her expectations, which can get in the way of intended demonstrating dominance. So don't play by her rules just means don't let her walk all over you, because it emasculates you and it will mess up the dynamics in a relationship, in a traditional relationship. I should say that. That's all I got on that one.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. You're supposed to be rock solid in yourself. Again, it goes back to she fell in love with who you were at that time. So you can continue to grow, but don't become weaker just because of the rules being set. Paul, do you have anything else to add to that?
I'll just make it quick. I have an example of this in my own relationship. When I first met Nurse Chick, I went to set a definite date, as I do. And it had to be a coffee date because she at that time worked graveyard shifts. So I typically don't like coffee dates, but we deal with the cards we're dealt. And so I set a date. I said, hey, meet me at this place at this time. It was a Starbucks. And it's like maybe the next day or the day of, I can't remember what, but she says, hey, how about instead of meeting at the coffee place, we meet at the park instead? I'll get the coffee and I'll bring it over to the park. And I go, no, we'll meet at the coffee place. And after that, she was just like, oh, okay, sounds good. But women will do that subtle little test to see if they can change the plan, see if they can take the reins, see if they can jump in the driver's seat. And they don't want to win. They just want to see what you'll do. And so if you go, nope, we're going to keep doing things the way I planned it, they're like, oh, okay, cool. And you pass their frame check, It's
so wild, dude. It is so wild. Like, because I don't think they even know what they're doing, but yeah, they're testing on whether you're going to stay the course. And I think it's all subconscious.
I have a friend who says it very well. He's like, it's only a test if you don't pass it. Otherwise, like, they're just acting like women. They're just doing their thing. And then as soon as you fail it, they know. And they're like, wait a second, something's off. And so yeah, a lot of the times it's subconscious. They're not even thinking about it.
And the big thing to understand about this, right, is that guys, like, embrace this as a positive thing, because it's forcing you to be better. If you're constantly passing these things, it means, hey, you're getting better, you're leveling up, like, you are becoming that more complete, well-rounded individual. But when you're falling and you're coming up against these obstacles and you're getting caught in these snares, well, that's just a sign that, okay, very obviously you haven't risen to the challenge or to the occasion. So you should actually look at this as a good thing, because, again, if girls were just kind of more like guys, right, and just let any old random whatever just come in and slide, everything kind of gets thrown out of whack. So it's very fortunate they have these things in place, because, again, it forces us to be better versions of ourselves and really help us achieve our true potential. So don't shy away from it. Just embrace the challenge.
Good point. All right, let's try and get through at least two more here. We do have a meeting that's going to be going on in the private community, whether you're a Dragons member or a member of Men of Now. And if you wanted to join Men of Now, that link is below. Or you can reach out to one of us on Instagram. I've got the Instagram link down there. But we gotta keep it tight here, and then we'll finish out the rest of these, since there's 16 and we're only on number 5. But it's such a deep discussion, and I think it's very interesting to go into. So number 5, adhere to the golden ratio. Give your woman 2/3 of everything she gives you. For every 3 calls or texts, give her 2 back. 3 declarations of love, earn 2 in return. 3 gifts, 2 nights out. Give her 2 displays of affection and stop until she has answered with 3 more. When she speaks, you reply with fewer words. When she emotes, you emote less. The idea behind the golden ratio is twofold. It establishes your greater value by making her chase you, and it demonstrates that you have the self-restraint to avoid getting swept up in her personal dramas. Refraining from reciprocating everything she does for you in equal measure instills in her the proper attitude of belief in your higher status. In her deepest loins, it is what she truly wants. Now, I am going to speak on this right now. The principle is not clearly defined here because I don't like that, giving less than. But what is being said is don't be overeager. Women are caretakers and givers. They naturally enjoy that more. So you're kind of matching the energy and making sure that you understand a situation before you're giving far more when you're not getting anything in return. I would say that there are even situations where a 1-to-1, when you're giving equal, is okay and totally normal, but it depends on that specific relationship. 2 to 3, again, this goes back to one of the previous rules, is better at the beginning of the relationship to feel it out before understanding exactly where you're going to go. But I don't think it should be that way forever. I don't know what you guys, maybe that's my hot take. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I'll say to this, I think the 2/3 rule, the idea is okay, right? What he's trying to do is get her to put more investment in than he is doing, right? It's almost a subconscious thing to take your investment level one level below. I think the 2/3 is a bit much. You don't have to go that far. What I prefer doing, what I teach guys is playing mirror game. You know, match her investment level and just take it one notch lower. It doesn't have to be a full-on mathematical equation of, okay, she sent me 2 text messages, now I'll send her 1, because then no one's ever going to talk, you know, like. But if she sends you a text message, or sorry, if you send her a text message and then she waits 2 hours to reply, okay, wait 2 hours and 20 minutes to reply to hers, right? You don't have to go full on.
Or you could do what Rodoku says right here.
Yeah,
just
there you go.
Thumbs up.
Just there you go. Thumbs up.
Unless you're in the Middle East, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. But in a lot of the mirror game too, really, it's just to train guys to not be so goddamn needy. You know, it starts off as a game, but then it just becomes a habit of how you communicate, and you're supposed to be working on your mission anyway, right? So, that's what I prefer to the 2/3 rule, but you know, to each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit the last one and then let's wrap here, guys, because we got to get ready for the meeting. So the next one, keep her guessing. And this goes back to a lot of these things are kind of strung together. But as Josh said, this is truly like the source code of Red Bull and the manosphere that we know today. If you notice, like everything ties into things that you see on like Fresh and Fit or on any of these other channels. It's very interesting because it all stems from it. Keep her guessing. True to their inscrutable natures, women ask questions they don't really want direct answers to. Woe be the man who plays it straight. His fate is the suffering of the beta. Evade, tease, obfuscate. I haven't said this word in a while. Obfuscate. She thrives when she has to imagine what you're thinking about her, and withers when she knows exactly how you feel. A woman may want financial and family security, but she does not want passion security. In the same manner, when she has displeased you, punish swiftly. But when she has done you right, reward slowly. Reward her good behavior intermittently and unpredictably, and she will never tire of working hard to please you. This is an interesting one to me. I mean, it's just natural. Like if somebody does good, reward them. If somebody does bad, punish them. But again, let's go back to where is the G spot? It's in the mind. It's in the imagination. So as long as you're not being destructive and manipulative, you can really give your girl the most amazing, wild adventure of her life. Just by being with you, if this is done appropriately. I've experienced it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the fundamental thing to remember for these last 2 rules in particular is that it's more about a balancing act, and you want to have understand the subtle balance of things. So, you know, again, what these two rules are basically highlighting right here is that, again, if you just dump everything out all the time, completely on the table, every single time, you completely lose all sense of mystery. You completely rob and deprive her of the ability of like, oh, okay, like I've figured him out a little bit and I'll unlock this new aspect of his personality out, right? So, it's not necessarily saying like, sit there like a sociopath and just be like, I'm waiting for her to give me that second text before I can send her something back, right? So it's just understanding that, again, right, when a girl asks you about your day, right, usually you keep it pretty brief, right? It's like, oh, I did this and did that, right? You ask a girl about her day, and what does she do? For the next 45 minutes, she's telling you every last intricate detail and all the backstory of everything, right? But that's just kind of the natural balance, is that women naturally tend to be more prone to longer and more prolonged sort of exposition dumps, right, as they would say in story writing, versus guys, right? We tend to be a little bit more like, okay, here's a few quicker facts. So understanding that natural ratio and that natural balance, just keep that in the back of your mind as you're having these interactions. And to Hud's and Paul's point as well, these are very, very good things for the early stages of a relationship. But again, as you get closer and as you develop your relationship to a more advanced level, your girl earns the right to, get more out of you and get more of that direct kind of one-to-one, because again, you've built something that's far more established. And that's something a lot of nice guys can't really wrap their heads around, is that they think like, oh, I can just do it right off of day one. And it's like, no, there's a whole thing that has to happen like in between this. Like, you don't just launch a rocket into space. You have to do some design work, you have to do some prep, some testing, and then you can launch the rocket. But so many guys are so eager to push the go button that they just completely dump everything right off the bat, when in reality, it's more of a slow build that you have to do together. So just leverage these rules as something to like keep in the back of your head and be more aware of the unconscious balance that's there in the equation, rather than, the steadfast, oh my gosh, this guy on the internet years ago said, I have to make sure that she does X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like that. Kevin, do you have anything to add?
No, I totally agree with Josh and Paul that this is beginning courtship type advice. To try to do this on long term might not even be good for your relationship. But the number 6, the keep her guessing. I mean, just avoid being predictable, just to maintain her interest and keep the relationship dynamic. I don't know if I agree wholeheartedly with the punish swiftly, reward slowly. I don't, I'd have to do some more research and some more thinking, deep thought on that. Just as everybody knows, really educated on PUA and red pill, but this was a new subject to me. That's why, Paul, maybe I want to talk to you offline a little bit, maybe to pick your brain about this, to where we can bring this into both of our groups as more of a subject matter to discuss. But I think, yeah, keep her guessing. Just avoid being predictable. If she knows you're going to react a certain way, she won't tell you certain things. If she knows that you're going to do this, if she does that, she's going to do it if she knows it's going to get a rise out of you. So avoid being predictable, and just to keep the interest in the relationship dynamic. I mean, and that's something we need to do in more aspects of life as men, not just in relationships, but in many different roles.
Mm-hmm. One of the favorite stories with my girl, we've been together almost 4 years now. She's going to be my wife at some point. No, not legally married. We're doing it differently. But love her to death. And within gosh, I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 months in, I had noticed something that she was like, she had cheapo headphones when she was working out. So I just bought her brand new AirPods Pros. Like, why not? And I remember I was like in a chat with one of the bigger Red Pill content creators, and I had shared that as a question to the host, and I got completely shit on by everybody else except for the host, because that's the right type of unpredictability, where I'm showing that appreciation to her and improving her life and showing my care towards her. And that gets lost a lot in this space. So that's why, like, again, there's nuances within each and every one of these rules that you really have to think about to make sure you're understanding it fully. Because if you read this at face value, you're going to miss some of that nuances. But anyways, we're at that point. We got to hop to our meeting. This was absolutely fantastic. We only got through 6 of them, and that's totally fine. We're going to continue to do this every single week until we get through them all. And we're going to continue through the entire history of PUA to the growth of Red Pill to what manosphere really is nowadays. And I am so excited for it. Paul, thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can find you and let them know about your beer club and your other communities and your other courses you have available.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on. Tune into the podcast tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Huds, you like all the masculine, feminine energy stuff. I'm going full chick crack, full esoteric mumbo jumbo tomorrow. I'm going to be explaining how the 12 universal laws fit into the 7 hermetic principles of the Kybalion. It's going to be a pretty fascinating episode. I did all the show notes for it yesterday. I'm going to blow everybody's mind. Did you know that the law of attraction is a sub principle under 3 of these universal laws? I did not know that. You probably didn't either. And so I'm going to do that. And then, I've got a group of guys too. It's called the Beer Club. It's $10 a month. It's a bunch of guys that just swap notes and chat all day on Telegram. And today, right, I'm trying not to kill a plant. And I've got this plant that I planted, and I have no green thumb. The guys in Beer Club are helping me with it. They're like, okay, well, you need to go down and check the soil. You got to make sure that the moisture is right and all this stuff. I'm like, thank you. That's the kind of stuff that we do in Beer Club. It's not just about women. It's just every guys helping guys and then swapping memes and stuff like that. So check that out. If you go to comeonmanpod.com, you can find all my stuff.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Guys, definitely check him out. His YouTube link down below. And let's go ahead and jump to the private Zoom call.